Ross, the CEO of Rain Gallery, and Dylan, the community/operations manager. Hi, guys.
Hey,
Hi, thanks for having us.
I'm really excited to talk. I know there's a lot going on with Rain Gallery. There's been some huge news as far as acquisitions, relaunches, but for anybody who doesn't know you guys, I would love to hear from each of you kind of how you ended up where you're at, a little bit of your origin story. Ross, do you want to go first?
Sure, yeah. So I'm Ross. I'm the CEO of technically Distributed Finance Group, which I guess is our holdings company. And really, the two operational businesses are Zest, which is our DAO builder. We're most well known for having built borderless DAO. If you've seen that online, we also built the DAO for Return of Capital. And then, as you know, in the summer, we acquired Brand Gallery, and then most recently we acquired NFT Explorer. So we essentially now own the entire NFT vertical stack on Algorand, which is everything from minting to primary sales to secondary marketplace to data analytics.
Dylan?
hey, I'm Dylan. I've gone by D4O in the Algorand ecosystem for about 2 years now. I've been in crypto since 2017. I've, gone through ups and downs. So I'm a proper degen. I've been kicked in the teeth a few times. So I'm quite galvanized to this lifestyle. I got really active in the Algo fam with spaces and, trying to just teach people about Algorand, bring them in. I'm very vocal, as most of you probably have found out. I like to speak my mind, and I try to spin it in a way that's informative and intelligent as best as I can. And I joined Ross and crew shortly after they took it over. They had a space where they were basically like, yeah, if you're in the Algo fam and you want to be part of the next Magic Eden on Algorand, like I felt like he was speaking to me personally, So I reached out and I had to chase, but it's been great. It's been a great opportunity, and now I'm trying to build up and monitor and make sure our community is taken care of. And we've got a lot coming up. We've been kind of quiet, but we've got a lot coming up, and it's a really exciting time for us.
It's really exciting, and you say you've been quiet, but I would argue in the last 6 months, maybe call it 8, Rain Gallery's they've had quite a few announcements.
That's all. That's all Dylan. That's all Dylan. So yeah, I'm really happy you reached out in the first place. We did mean it when we said it, and yeah, the extra activity and taking care of the community is really just all driven by Dylan. So if you're speaking to someone from Rand, you're generally speaking to Dylan.
And you and Dylan are not the only members of the RAND team. You guys have a few developers, right? And then we've got a Gash as your CTO, correct?
Correct. Yeah. So look, it's a small team. We do a lot with a little, but it's possible to do that if everyone's an A-star player. So we've got We've got 3 guys on the dev team. So we've got Alfie, Sui, and then Agash is leading that as our CTO. He's my co-founder. And then on the commercial side of things, we've got myself, Dylan, and then Helen, who's our general counsel. So we do have all angles covered. But yeah, there's quite a lot of work for a small team.
Well, and then on top of all that work, Ross, I know you and Agash do a lot as far as mentoring and public speaking and lecturing and working with accelerators. I mean, every time I turn around, you guys are somewhere doing something that is more community driven, I would say. So what are you up to nowadays, right now? I think there's an accelerator that you're
Yeah, look, it's actually one of the fun parts about being in Web3. I think we can all agree. Coming from the Web2 world myself, you start a business and it's just you against the world. No one's really helping you or is really that interested in helping you. But within a blockchain like Algorand, it's all very, very collaborative versus competitive, because it's very cliche, the whole wag me, but it's true. It's like we will all make it together, and it's in our best interest to be as supportive as we can to each other. So it's in my interest to support the next generation as best as I can, because I want these guys to flourish, because if they flourish, we all flourish.
Right.
We're also in a very unique position, being the number one marketplace on RAND, that we can actually support any business with the NFT initiatives, right? So the key for us is to get the tech to a place where no one is even considering building a platform. They can just come to us and say, look, we're interested in launching an NFT. Can you help us? And any business building on chain like Algorand should be interested in launching some sort of NFT, even if it's just for fun, has some utility, etc., etc.
And Rain Gallery, just for anybody who's unfamiliar with kind of the origin story for Rain Gallery, it was created in 2020, I believe, by a developer, kind of a sole lone wolf developer, Kraken. And then in 2022, it was purchased, right? By the overarching company behind what you do, right? What was that? What was the parent company?
Distributed Finance Group. Yeah, that's the holding company.
Okay. So that was a huge moment for me in the space, because I had been seeing people build and build and build, and the question was brought up, what happens? Like when you want out, you sell a business, but I hadn't seen an actual case study in Algorand of somebody that did a startup and sold it and moved on to other things and other interests. We talk about how like an NFT, if you're an NFT creator of a project per se, that's like almost a life sentence, right? So it was huge for me to see that example and that case study come to fruition on Algorand. It was a huge flex, in my opinion. Like, we needed that so bad. So along with that Rain Gallery acquisition, InstantShuffle.com came along with that as well, correct?
Correct, yeah. And all the credit there should go to Kraken, right? We simply came along. But the hardest part of any business is 0 to 1. What Kraken did, basically, mostly by himself, is frankly incredible. Now that we're sort of running it as a small team, but it's still a team, I'm not sure how he did it, frankly. It's really, really commendable. And
yeah, he's very talented.
Very talented, yeah. We're just trying to continue his legacy as best as we can.
Well, and you guys have made some amazing improvements already, and I love Kraken. We're buddies. But, you know, there's only so much one person can do, and he was already doing, like, the work of 3 people at minimum, like a bootstrapped 3-person team. But since acquiring Rain Gallery, you guys have really streamlined the new artist process. So if you want to get listed on Rand, there's a process in place now for that. You guys have streamlined that process now. It's a pretty quick turnaround time. If somebody does want to get listed on Rand, Dylan, what do they do?
We have a link at the bottom of our website. So there's the hard link there. You can always open DMs, and I can walk you through it. But essentially, you're just going to give us some information about the project, your team, if that's applicable, and we want to see your artwork. Our job is to, as best as we can, make sure that the art is totally unique, yours. So we take that very seriously. I spend a lot of time reverse image searching, checking other marketplaces, making sure that everything that we approve on Rand is authentic, is that artist's. But it's a really streamlined process for the creator. You just fill out this form, you submit, and usually within 24 hours, we get back to you letting you know approved or not approved. If we run into issues, whatever it may be, we'll have a dialogue with them. So we're very responsive, and we try to make it as painless as physically possible.
And then InstantShuffle.com is an open platform that you don't necessarily need to apply to use, right?
Yeah, Instant Shuffle was designed to be completely hands-off, which is why there's effectively no fees there. It's like a 1% fee. And Kraken designed it so that anyone could shuffle whenever they wanted to. It's still the case now. We haven't really made any alterations to Instant Shuffle at this point.
Okay. Very cool. Well, I know that was a struggle. Like we said, he was only one person. God bless him for what he made. But that was kind of initially like an alternative to waiting, right, to be approved or not approved. Or so yeah, I've always liked that RAND was curated, but it has to have some kind of like rhyme or reason for it to make sense to everyone. So I really like the fact that we have some processes and procedures in place that anybody can participate in these processes. And you know, if you're shy or don't like applying for things, I'm a weirdo. I don't like applying for things. I can just go to Instant Shuffle, which is really cool too. So, and then after we did that, you know, Dylan's done a lot as far as, but I heard a rumor that we are refacing RAND. Is there any alpha on how this relaunch is going to look or when it's coming? I know a para integration is imminent, and I know we're going to be looking at a D-flat integration as well. But spill the beans on the alpha for the relaunch.
Sounds like you've been reading our Twitter. Just if I take 2 steps back, what I do want to say is obviously we did just buy NFTX as well.
Yeah.
And what we've tried to do there is not only help to streamline those processes so it's easier to get verified on NFTX, but also bring some synergies between the 2 platforms. Like part of that purchase was to bring the best out of both platforms so we can create something that makes more sense to both collectors and creators. So now if you've been verified on NFTX, actually applying for RAND is a very, very quick job, and vice versa. And it's all done via Airtable. It's all very seamless. And so if you've ever been approved on RAND and haven't been verified on NFTX, please do that because it's literally a 5-minute job, and vice versa.
That's good to know. I do want to talk a little bit about NFT Explorer. It's been a go-to for me. That's like what legitimized the space way back when for me, right? Like that there was a marketplace and there was like an aggregator tool, a block explorer. But is the verification changing at all with that? Because I think before you could apply to be verified and get like kind of a check mark, or you could kind of verify your own collection and say this series of NFTs was made from my wallet. I'm kind of like a self-verifying collections. Is that kind of the plan to keep that the status quo? I know they were temporarily paused while we worked on this transition.
Yeah, so Verify, it was always like a optional, done through Twitter DMs process. But they had the recognize function, which was all automated. So you're able to go in to NFTX, go through the process of recognize, which is basically like filling out what's the name of the collection, what prefixes does it entail. That way they're not just combing through all of the NFT data in the ecosystem and just guessing. So that still remains, that's all automated. But the verify part is basically NFTX saying, yes, this art is unique. We have verified that. You can rest assured. That process is now done via a form that we're able to really easily manage and keep streamlined.
There's a few things we looked, obviously, to the best of our ability, right? We don't have all the answers. Part of our job is trying to make sure that we do things to the best of our ability, and we're checking for things like, yes, is the art unique? Is this potentially a security? Is this not safe for work? Just things like that. But like, obviously, that's to the best of our ability, and we might not always get it right.
Nobody's ever going to get everything right all the time, and that was one thing that was cool when Kraken was the only developer for Rain Gallery, was that he was constantly like kind of iterating, and it really evolved from like the first version of it he put out to kind of what you guys ended up purchasing. It was a way different product, even though it kind of looked the same on the front end.
Dylan and I and Helen as well, we spent a lot of time just looking at how to streamline the process, how to improve the processes, right? So really it's how can we deliver the best experience for you as a creator. So as a creator, you know typically you've got a billion different things going on, trying to get your collection live. This shouldn't be a blocker for you. And sometimes it's like, oh, we're going live Sunday. Oh no, we need to apply to RAND. That shouldn't be a blocker. We should be able to respond to you within 24 hours. Say yes, you've been verified. Then 24 hours later, yes, you're on the platform. And we've really worked on those. And I think it's something that we're known for is quick response times, and we take a lot of pride on that, and we try to do our best on that. And again, that's mostly Dylan, so it's got little to do with me. But I think we do a good job on that.
We appreciate Algorand is fast. So it's like, if we're going to put the Rand in Algorand, like, how do we mimic the benefits of Algorand in our own business? And speed is certainly one of the things people are very obsessed with in Algorand. It's addictive. So we do our best to respond quickly to messages you send, whether it's on Intercom or Twitter, or if you want to apply, we're going to let you know, like, you're approved. The tech onboarding may take a couple of days because obviously we are very busy on the tech end. So we're trying to balance that as efficiently as possible, but we'll at least let you know. We're not going to leave you hanging.
Yeah.
We touch the interaction and we make sure that you understand where you stand.
Mm-hmm.
I look forward to the tweets that you put out, Dylan, welcoming the new creators, because, like, there's so much going on in the space everywhere. Yeah, I like that little, like, check out who's new kind of feature that you've been doing on Twitter. You've also been hosting creator spaces, trying to support one-on-one creators, which I think is huge. The concept that Ross mentioned is very, I mean, it's entrenched in much of Web3, but the high tides, right? Not so much picking winners and losers, but talking to a large, many people and saying what's going to benefit these people, not persons. And so I really appreciate that approach, and just, I think it's cool to see the new people get onboarded. I think it's cool to hear artists that I know in the space already talk about what's working for them, and just having that platform to discuss it. I have said for a while, I know Rand is not a wallet, but I've always used Rand Gallery like a wallet. Like, if I want to send an NFT, I go to Rand and then send my,
Absolutely.
If somebody's like, oh, tweet out your best whatever animal JPEG, I go to Rand to, copy paste that into Twitter. So I'm excited. I'm a little nervous that I might not know how to use the new Rand when it comes out. What can I'm picking again for a little bit of alpha on what this might look like when we relaunch.
Yeah, I didn't mean to dodge the question before. We just got a little bit sidetracked.
Yeah.
No, there is some. Look, if you liked Rand before, we're very biased internally, but I think you're going to love what we've come up with. I mean, it was built, by degens for degens, essentially. And for example, you said you love the tweets that Dylan puts out on Twitter. What does it look like if we can just have that on the main page, so you can actually see via a tagging system all the new collections that have come out? Mm-hmm. That shouldn't be too crazy of an ask, and these are things that we've taken into consideration. So it's a few step process. What I will say is we're hoping to show you guys at least the new rebrand next week. I don't know when this is going out, so that might be tomorrow, depending on when this comes out. And we've been slowly showing a few people, and so far the reception has been really nice. So what we'd like to do next week is just show you at least the new logo, and then the direction that we want to take the business in, and how everything fits together under one umbrella. That's quite important for us to do. The first couple of things to change after that will be Shuffle, and we've been working really, really hard, and I do want to say a huge thank you to a few people. So Seamus, our designer, Dewey, Alfie, and Agash, who've also been building, and they're doing the job of, frankly, 15 people. And you will see that in the quality, and it has taken a little bit longer, but I think the end result, everyone's going to love. I truly believe that, and we've really been listening to feedback. Dylan's been on the front line, listening to feedback continuously, and then feeding that back into the team. But frankly, the whole team buys and sells NFTs all day long anyway. So we're just really passionate. My belief is that everyone's going to have an NFT eventually. Everyone in the world, right? So that's the world that we want to work towards. And for us, this is a labor of love that could potentially take years. And we're in this for the long haul. Obviously it's been a really rough few weeks for everyone. Frankly, it doesn't matter who you are. everyone's felt some of the challenges that have happened over the last few weeks. But for us, it's just a small blip in the road. And Algorand has a great future, and we'll build back stronger together. So next week we're gonna put out the new rebrand, and then next month you should see the new shuffle, creator tools, and then the marketplace, and then we're gonna bring tons of analytics into Rand as well. So really, what we want it to become is a one-stop shop. And then once we've got that, because everyone's like, okay, well, how do we grow the ecosystem?
Right.
And my belief is it's everyone's role to grow the ecosystem. And so we need to do our part. And first and foremost, number one priority is taking care of creators and collectors that are in the ecosystem. But then how do we onboard the next wave? So we're very fortunate to have a very close relationship, for example, with NF Domains, Terra, and I know these guys are continuously thinking about how do we grow the ecosystem, and if we can knock enough heads together, we can do it together. But it's a unified approach, right? Because without a great wallet that is obsessed with onboarding easily the new wave, then we can't do anything as the marketplace. And we love the Para team, we love the NFT team, and actually we've got some cool announcements coming out with those guys in the next few weeks as well. So what I can say is we'll be at Paris Blockchain Week. There's a cool activation happening, which I'm really excited about. And again, Paris Blockchain Week is literally in 2 weeks, so there's going to be information being dropped on Twitter about that. And then at NFT NYC, we're going really big. There's going to be a lot of us there. There's going to be several teams there. There's an on-site activation, there's a satellite activation, and again, that's a unified approach to say not just we're Rand, the number one NFT marketplace, but actually we're Algorand. Mm-hmm. We put the Rand in Algorand, so it's all of our duties to really spread the word about this great technology. But in order to spread the word about Algorand, we need to spread the word about Terra being a great wallet, because you need a wallet. And then we need to spread the word about Algorand because we're all building on the same chain. So having that unified approach is really beneficial.
That's, I think, what is so endearing about the Algo fam. I think that's why I, made it. I stumbled into blockchain wanting to know what it was. I literally was like, what is blockchain? That's where I started, right? And then I looked into ETH, and I tried a transaction, and it was like $60. I didn't know if it went through, and I just remember thinking this is like the equivalent of a fax machine. Like, it didn't make sense to me. I was like, how is this the future? And then I found Algorand, and it seemed like too good to be true. Like, on paper, it checked all the boxes, right? It wasn't environmentally irresponsible. It wasn't socially irresponsible. There were all these things that were really important to me personally, but then also for me to stay engaged and actually be able to sink my teeth into it and learn about it, like the instant finality, not forking, the low cost of transaction, so it wasn't intimidating to try. All of those things, I don't know that I would have stuck around if it were not for the human factor of people saying, no, this is how you import your wallet, or this is how you rekey your wallet, or have you checked out this Rand adding new click-throughs, for access to data from NFT Explorer, for example, before the two were under the same umbrella. All of the people is like what really made it feel like home, and why I'm so stuck in the Algo fam now. And I think that that's true for a lot of people in the space, right? We came for one reason and we stayed for another, and I think that's going to be key for kind of onboarding the next wave, right? Having the family all agree kind of on we want what's best for the family. So that's really exciting. What leads me to kind of a question I ask everyone, and I want to hear from both of you on this. If you were somebody that was just getting into Web3 and just learning, go back and rewind to yourselves a few years ago. You might have to go back some farther than others as far as the timeline goes, but what's some advice you might give to somebody who's new to the space?
I can start. Sorry, you're going to have to edit that. Anyone new to the space, I would highly recommend that they dig into a few different blockchains, understand the fundamentals of how they work.
Yeah.
And then I think hopefully Algorand is in that mix where you're comparing, and you'll realize really quickly that it is really the best option out there right now. I've always said, if I stumble upon better technology, I'm gonna jump on board. I mean, because that's what drives me. I love tech, and what I really love about this tech is how it just completely takes down any barrier for a creator to reach a global audience. If they want to take risks and mint some art that they're not sure is going to make it, they don't have to pay $1,000 in minting fees to get that art out there. You know, it really lets anyone in any economic situation take a chance and throw their art out there for, you know, the public to stumble upon. And who knows, they could be the next Picasso. Like, we don't know. Without this tech, none of that's possible. Like, in fact, a lot of it's suppressed by the legacy system, and there's so many gatekeepers involved that's ridiculous. Algorand's the first thing that I found that gets rid of all that and really makes it easy. And I would then say, once you find that thing that it just seems like a no-brainer, regardless of price, this is more like an investment, not investment advice, but from a speculator advice, I would just have conviction and ignore the FUD and trust your gut, because we're still really early, and there's a lot of vested interest in a lot of the older tech, Ethereum, Bitcoin maxis. There's a lot of interest to FUD everything else and just, you know, discourage and make you fearful and scared. And it's best just to do your own research first, dig in, learn what the founders of those technologies were setting out for. In this case, Silvio Macaulay. It's got a ton of great content on YouTube. The Lex Friedman podcast is actually what I saw with Silvio that got me hooked and made me obsessive about it. Like, learn all that stuff first before you jump in and make any purchases or get any real money involved, because that'll help make you, you know, convicted through any downturn.
Yeah, I was fortunate that I'm just stubborn and slow. So I never jump. I very rarely will FOMO into anything. I will take the time to get to know a project before I buy a piece. And sometimes I miss out on those mint prices and have to buy that piece on secondary, but it pays to kind of just take your time and ask questions. And I've never once felt, even if I know my question was kind of low on the tech understand, I've never felt like somebody thought my question was dumb or didn't appreciate me being interested enough to ask. So I totally get what you're saying. And Ross, I want to ask you for your advice, but I want to throw a little bit of a spin on it for you, because you and Agash are one of the most capable teams, like one of the dream teams in the space that I just have so much faith in. But I know it's not easy, right? It is not easy being, you know, a C anything, but let alone in a startup, in a tech company, on the blockchain. Like, you did not pick an easy road for yourself. But I have so much faith with you and Agash. Like, I don't know if maybe you want to cater your advice to people who are wanting to build something, but I just think it would be cool to hear what you think has really worked as far as that teamwork meshing so well.
Yeah, so the first thing I'll say is I think most startups, like most organizations, this is basically a bit of a swan or duck analogy, right? So as cool and calm and composed it might look on the surface, it's generally fairly chaotic on the back end. And it's not just us, and it's just me and Agash, right? That's the other thing I'll say. There's some real unsung heroes. Some of them, you know, like Dylan, who are a bit more vocal than others, but there are folks within the team who are phenomenal, just phenomenal powerhouses. Again, I'll call them out because I can. So shout out to Sui, shout out to Seamus, shout out to Helen, shout out to Alfie. These guys are, you know, constantly every day getting up and getting it done. and I'm just very thankful. I said we're a small team, but we managed to do a lot with that small team because everyone pulls their weight, and there is constantly new challenges. The last few weeks has been a challenge into itself, and I'm also very grateful to Agash, obviously, who doesn't necessarily need an introduction. He's just phenomenal on his ends, but we started the business very well insofar as we had Helen on the sort of legal and regulatory side of things, Agash on the tech, and myself on the commercial side. So we always attack challenges from years ago. We always attacked challenges with a very different mindset and coming in with different experiences, and that's helped get to where we are today. But just like as Algorand is just getting started, so are we. So expect big things to come. And what I will say about anyone interested in getting into Web3, one of the great things I believe about Web3 is that technically there are no barriers to entry. You are the only barrier to entry into Web3. It's really just taking the time to learn, pick your battles. I believe NFTs are a really great introduction to Web3 because they're fairly easy to understand. So it's a great jumping board into Web3. If you're interested, the best thing is doesn't matter who you are, where you come from, what you do. Frankly, no one cares, right? It's such an inclusive, amazing, global network of people, and what's even better is that you get opportunities like this where we can put a face to the name, and it's very easy to forget that all these collectors, we've got nearly 1,000 creators. We've got nearly 1,000 creators on our platforms. Every single one of those has sort of hopes and dreams, and the great thing about Algorand is that you can just get started. Like you don't, if you try and mint something on ETH, you're already down 50 grand before you can start. That's just not the case. You can literally start as a one-man band and grow from there. And the only thing that's stopping you from getting started is you. And you can jump into Discords. People are very open, happy to chat. And the more you contribute, if you want to get a job in Web3, just jump into a Discord and start contributing. It's really that simple. Everyone's always looking for smart folks, whether it's on the dev side or commercial side. It doesn't really matter. Just jump into a Discord and start contributing. And yeah, it's not easy. I don't think it's easy on any of us, right? And it's times like this where it's been a challenging few weeks, but we can all lean on each other. So we're all in this together. Again, it's just sort of that cliche, but most folks have been amazing at being extremely supportive of one another. I feel like we are very supportive. So our DMs are always open, whether that's Rand, NFTX, Zest, basically just Dylan. So
yeah, basically Dylan's DMs are always open.
Yeah, Dylan's DMs. But no, my Calendly is also on my Twitter. So if you want to talk, I'm available. To anyone at any time, no questions asked. Book a meeting in my calendar, and I'm happy to chat. The final thing I'll say, because I care deeply about this, is you need to take care of yourself as well, right? So we have something internally that and Dylan, correct me if I'm wrong, like work's important, right? But what we value higher than work is family and health. And health is two things. It's mental and it's physical. And perhaps I've learned the hard way how to take care of both, but I do take care of both these days quite a lot, and that keeps me sane and revving to go, basically, and getting up in the morning and being excited to come to work. But you need to take care of yourself.
That's so important. We are more than a bunch of animal JPEGs, and so many people holding these common views is really what's made the community as strong as it is. It's why I felt included. The more perspectives, the better, and it really is this global community. There is somebody from the Algo fam available 24/7. Somebody is up doing something. But you do have to take a minute, and you have to look around and realize that you're human, but also the people that are a part of the community are human too. So that's a really good reminder. I do want to give, while we're giving quick shout outs, the team a shout out. You guys reached out a few months back and said, how can we help support what you do, and having these conversations with people all across the ecosystem. And for anybody who doesn't know, sponsoring IRL really means not a lot. You don't get any say in what I talk about. You don't get to control, what I publish, but you still are really excited to support. And I think things like that, things like the Twitter spaces that Dylan's doing for 101 creators, I think making yourself available and that accessibility from Dylan all the way to Ross and beyond says something. And not only am I really personally appreciative, because it's always good to feel appreciated yourself, but I almost appreciate you guys more because I see how you appreciate the community and the builders and Kraken that came before you as far as Rain Gallery goes. So just a shout out to you guys. I appreciate the work of the whole team, but especially you guys carving some time out to make an appearance on my show.
It's an honor.
Yeah, it's an absolute pleasure. And when Dylan, came to us and said, "Look, I think this would be a great idea to sponsor you," for me it was an absolute no-brainer. So just happy to help, whichever way we can.
Yeah.
And the final shout out, because we haven't done it yet, and we would be amiss not to, is Josh and Tom from NFTX, who are technically still with us. So the migration does finish soon. They built an absolutely phenomenal platform that I think we can all agree is top notch. I think that's a fairly British saying, but just an A-star platform. So thank you, Josh. Thank you, Tom, again, for putting your trust in us and being so easy to work with over the last few months whilst the change of hands has been happening. We're very grateful.
Yeah, huge shout. I mean, to me, I don't disagree on the top notch, but it's a foundational piece of our community. It's where good things start and grow from, and people can DYOR, and so pivotally important that I know there were, some concerns about a marketplace owning it, but I know that you guys are really not trying to gatekeep any information. And so I have full faith in that, but huge thanks to them. Just like with Kraken making Ran, those first few steps can be the hardest, going from 0 to 1, like you were saying. So
those are the hardest. There's no question about it. Yeah, those are the hardest. Our job's relatively easy from here.
I wouldn't go that far, but I do think, getting the torch lit is half the battle, carrying it's the other part, right?
100%.
So. Yeah,
and going back to that, again, collaboration is absolutely key for us. So it doesn't, there's obviously a few marketplaces on our grand. We all win together. Again, there is no need for anyone to, I just don't view them as competitive at this stage. I want to see them succeed. I genuinely do. I want to see everyone succeed, because going back to what I was saying before, we all succeed together.
I believe it, and I believe in the multiplying factor, right? Things don't have to be. They don't have to be divisive. Yeah, right. We're not dividing things when we work together. We're multiplying, and so I genuinely believe that, and which is why I'm happy to have Rand as a sponsor. Appreciate it, and I know you're both busy, so I won't keep you, but we will talk again soon, maybe post revamp.
Whenever you'd like.
Yeah, let us know.
I'm pulling that Calendly.
It's probably another British word.
It does not roll off my tongue. I can't. I know that link's there now, so I'll get it next time. I appreciate you both so much. Thank you for making the time to talk today.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks, Dylan, for putting this together. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you so much.
I love you.